Good afternoon and welcome to the Transportation Advisory Committee meeting of Thursday, July 15th, 2021. And I'd like to acknowledge that the Sunshine Coast Regional District is on the traditional territories of the Sechelt and Squamish First Nations. We have an agenda before us today. Does anybody have any changes, alterations, reordering, great suggestions? Not seeing any, could I see a motion to adopt the agenda? Moved, seconded, all in favor? Yay, we have an agenda. Next, I would like a motion to receive all minutes, reports, and communications. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Yay, we have received everything. We have the minutes of the last meeting. Is there any business arising from the minutes of the last meeting? I did send around a letter. At the last meeting, the committee made a recommendation for the SCRD to write to Modi asking for increased communication and consultation. We received a letter back and I have emailed it out to the group. And I've forgotten to rename myself to say who I am. Hear me. Have to do that every time. Okay, so if there are no other follow-ups from that, then it is over to Diana Mumford.
Okay, there we go. So I forwarded our report, and I think the interesting piece is the statistics for our route at this point. And if you look at it, I've put a lot in green because trying to compare the numbers between this year and last year when our traffic was really bad was pointless. So I went back to 2019 for the comparison, but please remember that 2019 was a peak year for ferry traffic across the board. So that does impact how our numbers fall. But I have been told by BC Ferries that we are rebounding faster than almost all the other routes. And if you go to the ferry and you try to get to the terminal and you try to get on a ferry, I think every one of us knows that's true because you're not making it on that ferry. So that information is there. I have not been able to get June's stats, which will be definitely even better. But I just checked this afternoon and they still have not been published. So if anybody has any questions about those statistics, so it's Route 3 is provided and then in comparison to the system as a whole. No questions? All right.
Yes.
The other, sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were done.
No. And the other part of it was the biggest issue for us this year was the proposed reservation system change, which caused such an uproar on the coast. And I provided a list of some of the concerns from ferry advisory members. We created a list and we had submitted those questions for the meeting with Mark Collins, but he at that point canceled the project, so they were moot point. But I think it's important to see some of the challenges that we expected to happen with the way it had been proposed. And so significant issues for commuters from the coast. There was also a significant change for those using the TAP form, so for medical appointments in the city, and that at this point they don't have to pay anything. They just go to their doctor, they get the pink form, they go up to the toll booth, they hand it over, and they drive on the ferry. And the proposed system that they had was that people would have to book a reservation in advance and then hope to get the money refunded. And so that would have significantly impacted a fair number of people on the coast trying to have that money up front. And the last piece that I included, and it ties, I think, into the letter that Donna sent out this afternoon earlier about the letter from the Minister of Transportation. And he mentioned in that letter that he hoped BC Ferries would find better ways to communicate and consult with communities before they move forward on such a project. And I have included the engagement commitment that is on BC Ferries website. And they didn't quite hit the mark on it on this one by any means. So it's something that our FAC members are continuing to work on to try to make sure that there are some improvements to our ferry system, but not that they would then make such an impact on so many people that live on the coast. So that's what I've provided. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you. And I just have a question. The FAC is not very transparent. Like the minutes are something like 3 years behind on BC Ferries website.
That's the operative word. Is it's on BC Ferries website. We've had our meetings. The minutes are provided by BC Ferries. We send in changes, and then they never appear on the website. And in fact, if you looked at all of the ferry advisory committees, of the 13 advisory committees, 9 of them had minutes that were 3 or 4 years old. So we keep bringing it up to BC Ferries, but we seem to be on the edge of somebody's desk, and they're not getting published in a timely way. So we're very frustrated as well.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions about ferries? Really? Wow. That's a first. All righty. Well, you never know. We still have a round table to come, so issues may arise. Next up is track. Over to you, Alan.
Okay, thanks, Donna. So we just have a few little things. The first one is that we're planning for what we're calling active transportation weeks, late September, early October. It's going to be delivered in conjunction with the Fall Go By Bike, which is a provincial event. So we're going to be hosting events like Bike to Work Week, Bike to School Week, and a scavenger hunt, e-bike meetups, probably a ride up school road again, bike social, as well as a series of other events. But we're also hoping that the local governments can engage in some kind of friendly competition. And we're not really sure what that would look like quite yet. A couple of years ago, Mayor Seeger and Mayor Beamish raced on Cowrie Street. I can't remember who won. It's probably in the minutes somewhere. But we want to do something like that again. And so we're looking to you guys for ideas on what that might be. It'd be great to also get SER or the staff of the local governments involved as well. Anyway, if anybody has ideas about that, please reach out. The email address we're using for this is in the minutes, or you can reach out to me at the email address I'm at now. So yeah, that's any questions on that before I move on? Or any suggestions?
It was Mayor Seegers who won. I remember that clearly. She was on an e-bike, so she had an unfair advantage.
I wouldn't say unfair.
Significant advantage. David, I see your hand is up.
Mayor Seeger or Mayor Beamish has since bought an e-bike. So it might be e-bike. And actually, I think Mayor Seeger's rented hers. Mayor Beamish has bought one. He's committed. Um, and something I just wanted to bring up. I applaud cycling. I think it's wonderful. I have grave concerns. I think that have been expressed at various meetings in council and at one thing and another about road conditions and the safety of cyclists. But the other thing I have a concern over is the safety of pedestrians, because I've found a number of cyclists who seem to have this belief because they're on a bicycle, they're empowered. And that seems to extend not only on the roads, but also on sidewalks. And I've seen people have to jump out of the way with cyclists who come roaring through on bicycles and e-bikes on sidewalks. And, I don't want to see a huge pushback, but I sense it's coming, that people are getting very annoyed with certain cyclists. And I think it really behooves the cycling community to deal with it. You read the BC the BC cycling guide, and unless otherwise posted, it's technically illegal to ride a bicycle on a sidewalk.
Right.
So, I don't know. As I said, I applaud cycling. I'm really glad when I see, Director McMahon and Director Hiltz riding around on their bicycles. And, generally, families out, the whole bit. But when you start getting these conflicts between cyclists and pedestrians, I'm concerned there's going to be pushback. So I would really invite as part of this whole campaign to get people on bicycles, to do it safely and with respect to others.
Yeah, we could also ask ICBC to do some education. One thing I have found is that very few people know the rules of the road for cyclists. And that includes quite a few cyclists, and almost all car drivers do not realize what the rules are for bicycles under the Motor Vehicle Act. So, any education would be welcome. Mark, I see your hand is up.
It is, Donna. Yes, I would like to ask Alan about e-bikes and transportation, like active transportation. How do they fit into that program? There's the e-bikes, which are more like electric scooters, and then there's the pedal assist. How does TRAC see those bikes, I'm going to call them, in how it fits in with active transportation?
It's got a full seat at the table. I think definitely education about how people should be using bikes on things like sidewalks, and e-bikes makes that more complicated. But we see e-bikes as a huge boon for people getting around the Sunshine Coast, where they just wouldn't have done before. There's so many hills, and e-bikes make the whole place just so much more accessible, and shorten the distances for so many routes. So yeah, we're definitely all for the movement that seems to be coming around e-bikes.
Okay, not seeing any further hands. I'm going to guess that Matt McLean is the standing in for Director Toth for item 3.
Oh, so I do have two other things on this. I wanted to stop after active transportation week, just so before we move on. So the second item that we requested for the agenda was just clarification on shoulder grading. So recently there was a shoulder grading all over the Sunshine Coast, and we'd been requesting this for many years, because the bike lane that we like to call bike lane, the shoulder, it gets progressively more and more covered with grass and dirt and all the rest. And so the grading was great to see, but we're just curious how it happened. What was the mechanism that caused that to take place, and should we expect to see it happen more frequently now?
Eric, go ahead. I don't believe we've met before. Hi.
How's that? Okay, so much of that shoulder grading, what it was coordinated with other activities that we had on the go, and those are planned on an annual basis. So I can't really answer the questions of how much is going to get done every year. It's our budget is prioritized every year, and that's what came up this year.
Okay, I'm still a little bit confused. So is it part of the contract or not?
Most of what you saw this year was part of the contract, was part of our regular maintenance budget.
So if the road's in that state, then that should happen?
It may be, depending on where other priorities lay, what other roads look like, what other deficiencies on other roads are looking like. We have to prioritize where our work is going each year. So not just prioritizing the worst shoulders of the year, but rather prioritizing where the ditching has to happen, where the brushing has to happen, paving, all of those activities.
Okay, and is that prioritization is done with Capilano Highways, or is that an SCR? Who's involved in that prioritization?
Capilano Highways does that, and the Ministry of Transportation approves it.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Thank
it's part of a, and Eric, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. It's part of an annual work plan. So the contractors are provided annual quantities, which then they divvy up amongst the different activities that are contained within the contract. So like Eric said, some years it could be more focused on the ditching, or might be more focused on the shouldering. Some years it might be more focused on pavement patching. So yeah, so this year I know there was quite a shoulder and ditching program within their annual quantified work plan.
Okay, so just to clarify, there isn't a specification around when that would be a requirement to do, like there are with some other.
Yeah. Again, it's more just what's part of like allocated. Here's X number of work, usually measured in dollars, and so they look at the contract and so shouldering is just one of the work activities that are part of that plan.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the next one is maybe largely covered by the email that was received from the minister, but there was some road work done on Lower Road recently that distributed quite a volume of sand onto it, which kind of affected the road and the shoulders, and we're just wondering how that kind of information should be communicated, and if it can be communicated slightly better.
That's Capilano again, and we always have room for improvement. We did have our changeable message signs up, and there were notices out on the at the mailboxes, and so we did a fair job of letting the local people know who were going to be directly affected by it. But there's definitely, we had some room for improvement with talking to organizations like the SCRD and other large stakeholders that are coast-wide. So yeah, we're taking that under advisement, and we're going to see what we can do to make sure everybody gets notice.
Thank you. And as a director, if you send a notice to the SCRD and all the directors get it, then we can pass it on to our community associations and our neighborhood associations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Andreas?
Yeah, I have been asked by some members of the public whether that sand and gravel is actually going to get cleaned up because they feel a bit unsafe biking along there. So
very soon, within the next few days.
Great.
Okay, Alan, are you through?
Just one last one. So the last item is there is the active transportation gap assessment study that Modi has undertaken, which we think is great, and we're looking forward to the results of that. And we're wondering if there's any other consideration on the local government side for how that's going to be received. And I guess what we're wondering is if it's possible to form a subcommittee or prepare some kind of plan around what's going to happen when that report arrives. Because one of the problems, it seems that each local government is in a separate silo in terms of processing this information. It seems like it would be good to have a group work on the result of that.
Alan, could you refresh my memory for a moment on what that covers? It's just the Highway 101 corridor, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe Michael could speak to the scope of it probably better than I can.
Yeah, I think. Oh boy, I'm not leading the study, so I'm I'm afraid to speak out of turn in case I got my facts wrong. I think it was meant to cover the entirety of the Sunshine Coast, but I think, of course, in that session, Alan, that track was a part of. I think there was mostly a focus on the gaps on Highway 101. Recognizing that on some of the side road networks, again, through initiatives like the gas tax and stuff like that, that we look to work with the local regional district on making improvements on the side road network while our ministry remains focused on trying to fill in the gaps on the main line on the highway. But yeah, Alan, I think I'll take that point away as well, what you just asked about a subcommittee or what to do once the results are in. I think once the results are in, we'll meet with stakeholders again to present the results of that. And I think internally as well with the ministry, there'll be some discussion on next steps as well.
Thank you. Andreas, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I thought this would be a good opportunity. I feel I'm not clear as to what we're waiting for at this point, or who we're waiting for at this point for the whole shoulder widening expansion of bike active transportation network. Are we? Who are we waiting for at this point, and what are the next steps?
Specific to which area, Andreas? Sorry.
Well, all the active that gas tax funding that we want to spend on. I'm just not clear as to what's next.
Okay, I believe once the MOU is signed off by both parties, at that stage, then it's incumbent on the regional districts then to put forward projects for which that money can be used.
Right. So we did sign an MOU of some sort a year or 2 years ago. That's not the MOU.
I don't think so. I don't know if the SRD has signed it off yet. Last I heard, that was still in the queue on the regional district side.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if Ian wants to weigh in at all on that, but I think we're not very ready yet. Comments?
Thank you, Chair. Our CAO might have a more recent update, but I believe that the status of the MOU is that SCRD has moved to sign it, and we await a response from Modi, who I believe have committed that they will be signing it, and we're just waiting to receive it back. So that's the policy piece needed to give UBCM comfort about the use of gas tax, and then there's the planning and resourcing piece that's a little more within the regional district's bailiwick. Thanks.
And the only follow-up would be when the draft Modi MOU was shared with UBCM, they weren't really making their decision on eligibility of gas tax fund access contingent upon receiving a signed version of the document. They had gone through and deliberated, and it looked from their read as if utilization of gas tax funding for those projects along Modi right-of-way corridors subject to the MOU would be acceptable.
Okay. Sounds like the ball is in our court. So perhaps that is a topic to take up at a planning committee meeting. Okay. Mark.
Yeah, thanks. I just, if Alan could say something, I might have missed the report about the gap assessment. So when did it start? Did it happen? Could you just give a little background on that piece?
Yeah, sorry, Alan, I hope you don't mind if I take that question.
Not at all.
Okay, sure, Mark. So it's an initiative that was started with our South Coast Regional Office. It really started more out of our Metro Vancouver area, and we work very closely with the hub group in the Metro Vancouver area. And one thing that they've done over the years is they've developed, they've done their own sort of gap assessment, not just on provincial highways, but also within the different communities and municipalities within Metro Vancouver to identify gaps in the cycling network. So our planning group got some funding together this year to take that idea and go forward with it to identify gaps in our own cycling network on provincial highways. And so I had pushed to include the Sunshine Coast in that study, because I know we still, as much as we've tried over the years to expand road shoulders on the highway to better accommodate cycling, we still understand there's still a number of gaps that need to be addressed as well. And so that's what this study was to look for. And there was a session that was held with members from TRAC and some others in the community. And I believe there was somebody from the Powell River side as well that sat in to, provide their expertise and help us identify different gaps in the network. So that information's been collected by our consultant. And I guess if currently they're reviewing, analyzing, and we just await results.
Okay, Matt, you're up.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's pretty exciting. It aligns with some of the work we're looking to do to revise our master transportation plan in Sechelt. So that'd definitely be good information for the district of Sechelt to receive. So will that report be made public, or can it be shared with our staff?
I apologize, Matt. I don't know yet. Again, because I'm not the person with Modi leading the study. I do apologize. I don't know what the plan is once the results are in, but I do imagine there'll be some further stakeholder engagement on it.
Looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
Alan?
Sorry. Yeah, we're looking forward to it as well. And I guess the point of putting it on the agenda was just, it would be good to see when it's delivered to the Sunshine Coast, which as I understand it from our meeting, that it will be,
Mm-hmm.
that it's delivered to a shared group, so that it's not delivered to each of the jurisdictions in a silo.
Yeah.
Where the conversation can be shared between all parties.
Point taken, Alan. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. Are we done on agenda item number 4?
Yes.
All right, then, Matt, you can be Alton.
Yes, I am standing in for Alton, so I'll stand in for his motion as well. So last week, public works crews from the SIGD and the district of Sechelt went in and actually cleaned the medians between Chapley Avenue and Wharf Avenue on the Highway 101. So this is well outside of our mandate, and it's actually even outside of Seashelt's borders. But we did it because it's our communities value a clean and well-maintained entrance to our community. So Director Toth and I wanted to bring this up to understand why this responsibility has fallen upon local governments and not Capilano Highways. So we want to understand what the root cause of this gap between expectation and reality is, and what can we do? So just a few questions to get us started. Is it the maintenance standards? If so, how can we get those raised? Or is it prioritization of maintenance work? If so, how can we help you prioritize based on the local values that we bring as local governments? Or is it actually a local government responsibility, and should we be setting up a budget to fund this work ongoing? Because this is not the first time we've done this work.
Sure. So I'll talk to that, Matt. So, yeah, I guess I should start by saying that, I don't believe Capilano Highways or the ministry was notified that this was going to happen, nor were there any phone calls placed to our office or Capilano Highways office, if I understand correctly, that there is a desire to see this done. I think the issue of communication, it does need to work both ways. It was an unauthorized lane closure that was put in on the highway, and to that point, it would be better if this is communicated to us instead of work being taken on without our knowledge.
Okay, I'll be sure to bring that back to our staff. Yeah. But just recognizing that this isn't the first time, so yeah, we did conduct this similar work a year or two ago. So it's kind of an ongoing situation. Yeah,
and if I understand correctly too, the local operations manager did inform me that that particular spot was cleaned back in April. It is a spot where there is a lot of industrial traffic with the nearby mining pits and stuff like that. So we do see accumulations. They do happen quicker, I think, than other spots on the highway at that location. So yeah, so I mean, it was cleaned in April, if I understand correctly, and yeah, we just happened to see some more accumulations happen there. So yeah, there are maintenance specs to keep the highway swept and cleaned. I want to say in that spot, Eric, you can correct me if I'm wrong again, but I think it's 3 times a year at that spot, or 2 times a year.
Yeah, I believe through a municipality it'll be 3.
Yeah, so it's yeah, and I think there we're just seeing, because of the greater industrial activity and its location, I think we just do see more accumulations of debris and sand that happen along the curbs and shoulders there. But again, I think we're willing and happy to work with the District of Sechelt on this issue, and if more cleanings are needed, yeah, I'm open to meeting with the District of Sechelt to discuss further.
Okay, I'll loop back with our staff and try to understand and bridge that communication.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Yeah, so I don't think I heard the answer to the question about whether or not there is a spec that triggers work. So I assume that if there was 3 tons of sand on the bike lane, something would have to be done. And I assume somewhere in between 3 tons and where we are right now is essentially not covered by the standard. So what would be the volume that would trigger an immediate correction?
I would have to look at the spec, but yeah, so the sweeping is again, depending where it is along the highway, it's 2 or 3 times a year. And it's typically the work process is, do it as soon as possible once winter's over, to collect any winter accumulations or winter sand and stuff like that. Recognizing we don't see a lot of winter sand spread on the highway on the Sunshine Coast. But yeah, so that's definitely one post-winter sweeping, and then another one at some point as well. I don't know if Eric can speak more to their own scheduling of those activities.
Yeah, I would have to go and double check the frequencies through Seashell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I think we understand that there's regularly scheduled sweepings, which we appreciate, but I imagine there is some specification that if the volume of debris exceeds that should trigger sweeping. Is that not the case?
Not necessarily a sweeping. There is. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, Alan. But there is if there's an accumulation greater than, I can't remember what it is, measured in cubic centimeters on the highway, then it needs to be picked up right away. But it doesn't necessarily result in like a sweeping of the whole corridor.
Yeah, that's usually just a spill. Something in particular comes off a truck and we go pick that up.
Yeah.
Hey, I think we should keep this moving. I'm going to move to our roundtable. And I thought we would start with a new face at the table. Joey Fermodi, how'd you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. So I'm Joey Tasker. I'm with the ministry here in Seashell now, and happy to be here, and nice looking out over the water. So it's pretty great views, and I'm happy to be here. Happy to start working for everybody and working with everybody here. So look forward to future meetings with probably all of you at some point. Have a couple of years, about 2 years of experience with the ministry, and coming from Fort St. John and Grand Forks, and then just got here in the last couple of weeks and getting settled and getting used to everything going on here and all the roads we've got. So I obviously have nothing for the round table other than nice to meet everybody and look forward to meeting you all in person.
Yep. So still bringing Joey up to speed, so everyone be nice.
Okay. Go to you next, Michael. You got anything?
No, I don't think I have anything new for the group. I was going to use my time to introduce Joey, but he's done that himself. So so between myself and Joey, we're your main Modi contacts, but Joey will be our person actually based in Seashell. So it's nice to have somebody there, and it's got some big shoes to fill with Colin departing for the prairies. So very thankful to have Joey on board.
Great. Thank you. Let's go over to Eric next. Logical progression.
No, nothing from me. Thank you.
Okay. Well, how about Sunshine Coast Tourism?
Hello. Just a couple things. I've been working with a number of different projects. There's an e-bike initiative that we have some consultants working on to develop a business plan for e-bikes at the visitor centers, and we have recently identified some capital funding that will help us purchase said e-bikes. So that project's moving forward in a nice way. I will also be starting work on some other destination development projects around active transportation, in particular on Highway 101 points of interest. So I am going to be sort of engaging with local governments and stakeholders on some upgrades that we can do, whether it's signage or wayfinding. Other than that, just promoting cycling through our sustainability initiative, and looking forward to a very busy summer.
Extremely busy. Mm-hmm. So talking of busy, how about BC Ferries? Anything further, Diana?
Yes, I just wanted to add an interesting point. I really appreciated the letter that you sent out today, Donna. And I'm not sure how many people understand that we were not a major route until 2012 in the service contract. We were moved to the major route group, but most of us can't figure out why we're in a major, because we're not the same as routes 1, 2, and 30, the ones that go from the mainland to Vancouver Island, and we're different than the minor routes because we have a lot more traffic, and the northern routes. And when you're a major route, you do not receive funding, specific service fee from the provincial government. So in 2012, we were made a major route, and we still received 2.3 million went into BC Ferries from the provincial government for our route. And then in 2013, that was stopped. So there is no specific funds given to Route 3, which we believe, in my conversations with BC Ferries, and we also have talked about it a little bit in the FAC, that does impact the opportunities for us to get another ferry to make that viable. And so that might be an area that needs to be highlighted and worked on, because it does make quite a bit of difference. I mean, that was 2,300,000 in 2012. So you can put a bunch of inflation on top of that, and it should be a lot more. And that would help, because our route is really struggling in a lot of the sailings to have enough room for all the people coming, because we are definitely ahead of everybody else. And I think, as I said before, I don't have the June report, but I think it will be significantly better than May, and it just continues. And we do need something else to give us more service, and that really is going to come back to some other second ship that can take the load.
Good. Thank you. How about School District 46?
Hi, Samantha Haynes here. I'm filling in for Sue Gerard, and Nicholas Westwick is down with his vaccine today. So I don't really know what's been reported previously. So I think I'll just say that we're continuing with our review of our transportation committee. We now have cameras on most of our buses moving into the next school year, and we are piloting the 6-foot stop arm project, hopefully in September as well. So that's two very exciting initiatives we're happy to have. Thank you.
So a 6-foot stop arm is a really, really big stop arm?
Yeah, so making it basically impossible for people to get around those buses, which is great for safety for us.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Track, did you have anything further?
We do not.
Okay, I'm now going to go alphabetically by area. And so Area A, how are you doing, Lan?
I'm doing great here. It's just right. I'd like to thank Michael for some action he took from some road right-of-ways where a fella next door had decided that it needed landscaping, so he started putting big piles of dirt with trees on them on a road right-of-way, and unfortunately the road right-of-way was a corridor, a utility corridor. We had 8-inch water mains down there, power, everything. And Michael stepped up and asked him to clean it up, and he did. So thanks, Michael.
No problem. No, it was helpful for. I forget who with the SCRD sent a note. That was helpful, and it provided me some ammunition to go back to the individual and tell him to clean up his act. Yeah, no, it's glad he complied.
And that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lan. Lori, you're up next.
Well, for transportation in Half Moon Bay, there's a couple of concerns. Of course, constituents wanting the pathways and roadways still continuing along red roofs. Probably one of the other ones, though, is the Minty Road. Minty Road is just, it's a very small road that goes past Half Moon Bay General Store and down to the end to the Half Moon Bay dock, and it would. There's concern with residents, ongoing concerns over speeding and excess, because it goes down to a very, very narrow lane, and you know, I'm wondering what we can do to reduce the speed there. So that would probably be a question for Michael. I'm not sure if we've talked, I may have mentioned it at some point before. I'm not sure if we went any further with it than that. And then otherwise, yeah, just, and I mean, I would have brought this up at public safety, but without RCMP there, it was difficult. The speeding along, and whatever we can do to help reduce speeding in any of our secondary routes. I'm thinking Lower Road, Red Roofs. You know, there's a lot of people taking liberties with their speed.
Okay. And I totally forgot Sunshine Coast Transit. So in my list, James, do you have anything?
Thank you, Chair. Nothing really to add unless people have questions directed more towards myself. I guess, sorry, the one thing I could say is with the Transit Future Action Plan, the public engagement sessions are slated for August 20th to September 20th. So BC Transit are working in the back, getting ready for that project. Other than that, that's all I have.
Good. Thank you very much. There used to be an Area C, but it was absorbed by Seashell. So I guess Seashell now speaks Area C.
Oh man, okay. I'm just seeing if I have anything from the old Area C, and I don't think I do. Oh, the airport. Yes, the airport would have been in Area C. So as you might know, the airport was recently substantially completed. So the District of Seashell is going to have an open house on Saturday, July 24th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So this is your invitation to all of you here to go up there, check it out. We've extended the runway to 3,100 feet, which allows for a greater variety of airplanes to come in. And we've repaired a road surface that has hardly had any touch worked on it since 1976. So kind of dual purpose there. So you're all welcome. We also have our fire department there and their new fancy ladder truck for you to check out, as well as some of the airport operators. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., the District of Seashell, our MP and our MLA are going to have a substantial funding announcement for active transportation. If you'd like to attend, you're all welcome. It's going to be at 10 a.m. on Friday, July 16th at Kinnickinnick Park. So I hope you all can join us there. Trail Avenue work continues for it continues. We've been held up due to utility works and coordinating with the various utilities on a very heavy utility corridor. But we're hoping for substantial completion up to Surf Circle within the next couple months. And then just finally, design work is progressing well on our Wharf Street sidewalk improvements. We look to start those as the tourist season ramps down. So we're going to start it in the early fall. And that's going to be a really nice link for our downtown to create a much more walkable community. And that's all I got from Area C/Seashell.
Sorry, Paul, did you have a question?
No, sorry, I was just trying to give a thumbs up.
Yeah, well, I have a question. So does the ban on drag racing at the airport extend to e-bikes?
I'm going to give that one a good old no comment. But yeah, I think you're welcome to bring up your e-bike. We want people to try out the airport and not damage the runway. It's a key concern with the drag racing at the airport. So I think the impact of an e-bike is a lot less.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can try out our mirrors just to see how they're doing. So next up is D. Andreas.
Thank you. Yeah, the there was some confusion expressed with the recent resurfacing of Lowell Road. One question was, why the gravel, why the sand? And then the other one was, it seemed like for a little while there that both sides of the road were closed, which made people drive on freshly resurfaced road and leave some lovely grooves, but then later on had to be fixed again. So just some feedback for future process improvement. It may have also been willful ignorance that caused those people just to go, hey, let's go drive and make some grooves. So I'm not sure exactly what the reason was, but that happened. And some earlier conversation tweaked me, and I had floated this idea with a few of the school trustees before, but maybe Samantha hasn't heard about it. I think that I think that bike training should be part of our primary education. It certainly was for me when I was growing up in Germany, and I think that's ultimately where active transportation gets its foundation, is that people need to know how to behave on bikes properly. And right now that there's a gap in that education. And I think it should be done at the primary level, grades 4, 5, 6, 7. And I think that's where Europe gets its active transportation ridership from, is from people that are educated and are confident riders because they know what they're doing. And that's totally lacking here. So I think that should be something that should be part of the school districts and what they do. That's just my opinion. I'd love to be part of any collaboration in that regard, if that can be done. That's it from ARD.
Thank you. Alan.
Sorry, we've recently talked to somebody from Hub, and they run Everyone Rides program, and they're intending to bring it to the Sunshine Coast in 2021. I think I'm not sure which of the schools are going to be partaking in the initial trial, but I think it's probably Gibson's Elementary and at least one other school. So there is some work being done to move that forward.
Great. Thank you. All right. Alphabetically, I'm next. So I just wanted to say that I appreciate that we've started having regular meetings between Moti and the rural directors at the SCRD, and I think that's really helpful. Also recently had a meeting with the town of Gibsons and Moti about a bunch of our shared roads. This was triggered by traffic calming measures on Gower Point Road. And with respect to the town, saying that the public hearing on the Gospel Rock development was the opportunity for people to make comments on traffic calming on Gower Point Road, and that was 3 years ago, was an adequate public consultation, I think is kind of pushing things. Anyway, we had a good meeting. And I think we had some takeaways. We also discussed Chester Road and the effects the Gospel Rock subdivision will have on that, and Reed Road, which is the drum I bang all the time. Lots of issues with Reed Road, and because of a number of different things coming together at the same time, it is likely that the town will be developing a pedestrian bike path on their side of Reed Road, the south side, over the next year or two. And the SCRD, if we get the green light for the Church Road Well project, we'll be digging up that side of the road for a water main. So it's good opportunity for everybody. This is peripheral to transportation, but I think because everybody is watching wildfires across the province and elsewhere in the world, there's a lot of concern out there about evacuation routes and emergency planning. And we really need to start addressing that. We have, thanks to the combination of our geography and the way that planning is done around here, we have a lot of neighborhoods that only have one road access. You know, you'll have as many as 150 households and one road access. And it is a concern. Neighborhood associations are concerned. They're becoming much more aware and they're asking a lot of questions. And so I look forward to what we can do. Oh, and another one that gets asked all the time is, how would we leave the coast if we had to evacuate the coast? Well, good luck with that, actually. So there's one other item, which is, I was just going to mention this, the SCRD, we're having a lot of discussions right now around committees. You know, how many committees do we have? What do they do? Are they structured right? Do they have the right mandates? Is everybody feeling like the committee is meeting their needs and so forth? So we did have a request from the Sunshine Coast Highway Society to join this committee as a member. That request, we recognize it, but it's on hold at the moment because I think there will be a discussion about advisory committees coming up in the next few months. So, you know, stay tuned. You will be asked for your opinions and thoughts and comments. And Area E, well, we are what we are. We're you know, we don't have enough shoulders. We have too many people speeding, and what else is new? And yeah, on we go. So over next to F, Mark.
Yes, F. First of all, yeah, thanks again, Joey. We really appreciate you coming to the Sunshine Coast. So awesome to have you here. And thanks for Michael for swinging the bat at that gap analysis and speaking up for the Sunshine Coast. So thanks for that. A couple items, and I'm not sure if this ties in with Joey's role, but there's residents that are asking, like, they used to be called local improvement projects, where there was a process of getting a loan through the local government to do paving or improvements to take an 8F road to like a 6D. There was one done in the 1995 in this region. So whether that's still happening, because in order to do authorized work in a right of way, you need permission and all this kind of stuff. So is that something that they would speak to you guys locally, or is that the development office somewhere far away?
Yeah, I think the starting point is the local office, because any road upgrades or turning an 8F classed section of right of way to something that's going to be higher and therefore maintained by our contractor, they should reach out to the local office first, just to start talking about what that upgraded standard may look at. And once that's done, then they can work with our permitting and approvals team on the appropriate documentation to actually undertake the work. And
local means Joey.
That's correct. Joey and
myself
work closely on issues like that. Yeah.
Okay. And then the other question is, because like Cap Highways is out there, they got trucks, they're patrolling. And if you recall, early June, there was a series of 3 spot fires that started along the bypass. And my question is, as part of the patrolling and in this hypersensitive wildfire situation, are the patrol trucks equipped to deal with like a spot fire? Do they have fire extinguishers, shovels, water? Will they do it? And their role in our general protection. So what is the role of CAP and MODI patrollers out there to help us keep safe?
I can speak to that a little bit. Yes, most of our patrol trucks have fire extinguishers. They're going to have shovels, absolutely. And quite often they're out there specifically for fire watch when we've done, say, some mowing. Our patrol vehicles stay in the area for a couple of hours thereafter, keeping an eye out. But having said that, it's not one of our core activities, and very soon we'll have to wrap up anything that's of any risk to starting a wildfire.
And that was the follow-up to that is, what is the impact of this weather going to have on maintenance activities?
Yeah, we're gonna be wrapping up anything that has even a remote chance of starting a wildfire. Just about any day now. We keep a very close track on the different fire ratings on the coast.
So no brushing, no machine work, no. Okay.
Yeah.
Quite restrictive then.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's it, Donna.
Okay, then it's G. Gibson's.
Thank you, Donna. Just a couple of things. We're working with Active Transportation to connect some of the gaps we have here in the town. Most of the work is nearing completion on the Gibson's Way downhill bike route. We've got some obviously painting and line work needs to be done, and familiarizing people with where they can park, because now people think, oh, look, it's a parking lane. And there's a couple of areas that are really hazardous to cyclists. They're coming down the hill, and all of a sudden there's vehicles, and then people open their car door or pull out, and the cyclist is now careening across into actually the upcoming lane. So I've talked to staff, and they're working on getting that resolved as quickly as possible. I don't know if anyone noticed, our ferry fares are going up August 1st due to fuel costs. It's nickels, dimes, and quarters, but they're still going up. So, and I don't know whether Diane mentioned it. I was a bit late joining the meeting. To Director Ty's comment about bike education, back in the olden days when I had a proper bicycle, through the school we had bike camps, and the police departments actually monitored them, and you had to pass a test. But the outcome of it is you got a license for your bike. And in the recording of your bike license, the serial numbers of the bike were recorded. So if your bike was found or your bike was stolen, you didn't have to go scrambling like, where's that piece of paper I wrote the serial number of my bike on? It was recorded with the police department. So a lot of people got their bikes back, which was a big plus about it. And, you know, I think at the time, which was a lot of money, it was $5. But, you know, well worth it. To Director McMahon's comment about the dialogue with roads out of Gibson's and how they interface with other people's roads, totally agree that there needs to be more dialogue and more collaboration. You know, I raised great concern with tourism aspects of cycling on the coast is, you know, Gibson's creates 300 yards of wonderful bike lane, and then all of a sudden you hit this abrupt end. So it's not the sort of thing you really want, you know, families to go careening one way and just end up with no support for what they've been sort of conditioned to anticipate. So one other thing, there have been a couple incidents lately with cyclists having to be extricated out of the bike parks. And my understanding was that the one occasion it was a cyclist who wasn't resident on the coast, was injured. It took 17 people to extricate him. It was during the heat wave. And because of the terrain, they had to keep rotating crews. So, you know, there were 17 Landsar people who helped get that person out to EMBC who were waiting. So it's also, again, part of the education in, you know, we have some amazing bike parks, the Gravity Park, Sprockets, and the connections between, you know, the fact that you can ride from the Langdale Ferry Terminal to Seashelt on bike trails with a mountain bike. which is a tremendous. But people really need to be aware that they're challenging. It's not just like riding your bike in Stanley Park. So again, it's part of that education process. But anyway, that's it for Gibson's.
Good, thank you. But less likely to be attacked by coyotes. Is there anyone lurking out there in the Zoom land else? We have staff who are here. There were a couple folks in the gallery. Anybody else want to weigh in, or are we? I'm not seeing any hands because it's aha. Well, you're not lurking. You're Mark.
I'm wondering who Steve is.
Who's Steve?
Hi there. Steve is a visitor. I've just been listening along. I'm with Capilano Highways as well as Eric, so just listening, gathering information.
Okay.
And Donna, Dean here. I just wanted to say hi and welcome to Joey.
Okay. All right, folks, it's a beautiful afternoon. I'm sure that we all have things we'd rather be doing. So do I see a motion to adjourn? Move, seconded. All in favor? Yay. Okay, thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Welcome, Joey.
Yeah, welcome, Joey. And let's do this in person someday.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone, for being here. Oh, Michael, if you have